It's on. We're here.
I want to talk about this Mount Joy situation, but I don't want to. I want to do it in the pod. I don't want to leave it for the filter in. Whether we can actually allow them on the pod after what they did to you.
I still can't believe like the odds of that night. That's just a random couple hears me crying on the phone to you, and they're like, "Oh, you need tickets?"
And let you in. Yeah.
She gave me 2 tickets.
Well, you learned a valuable lesson that night. You're never on the list when you're supposed to be on the list. Never. Now, sometimes you can resolve it by making a phone call or they checking with somebody. But the first time you're supposed to be on the list, never on the list. Never.
I'm not sure.
I've always been worried about having to do the like list. Every time I've been on a list, which admittedly is not many times, it has worked because I've been assuming that I'd have to do the look at the list of names and like beg and be like, I know this person. This is like my worst nightmare. So luckily that's never happened. Because I would just be like, okay, I'm gonna leave. I'm not. It's
the worst feeling.
It was
I'm
awful.
not gonna do anything.
They go, what list? And you're like, well, the band list. Yeah.
You're like, I'm with the band.
The band list. Oh God.
And then the look that they give you when they're like, fuck off. Like, no, you're not. Everyone says this.
Yeah, there's a line.
Yeah. You feel the pressure.
Is the whole band coming on? Is that, or is it just the same?
No, just Matt.
Just Matt.
Just Matt.
Yeah. How big of a band is it?
How many are they?
I think
are they
5? 4 or 5.
I don't know.
Okay. Well, Matt will have to answer for his crimes. Matt
did a "You Don't Fuck With Me, I Don't Fuck With You" cover for the what's it called? Thon, the Zoomathon. He was on. I remember Matt was on. He was on before we did video, because I think we just recorded him audio. I don't even think I saw him when he was on. Yeah, so that'll be exciting if we allow him to come on after what they did to CJ. Shame.
Thank you.
What a shame. All right, let's go. The Rights to Ricky Sanchez podcast is presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. Sign up for DraftKings Sportsbook by using promo code RTRS, and brought to you by Kornblau and Kornblau, the official law firm of the Process. MortgageCS. Become a MortgageCS Ricky VIP by going to mortgagecs.com/Ricky. Big Barker Therapeutic Dog Beds. Get yours at bigbarker.com/Ricky. And Stateside Urban Craft Vodka, the official sponsor of the Corner 3 newsletter with Zoe. StatesideVodka.com. On the show today, finally, James Harden has his own signature wine. Also, he has seemed to have signed his contract with the Sixers. Joel Embiid is working out, it seems, with Harden and PJ Tucker and going to the wine release. Zach Lowe says that this is the best team of Joel Embiid's career. Markieff Morris is still, seems like, begging a little bit to be on the Sixers. Doc Rivers is bringing training camp to Charleston, South Carolina. He says it's for a different reason than golf. And Joel Embiid dances the Hora at a wedding. I mentioned Stateside Urban Craft Vodka. I am once again I enjoy usually the normal vodka during the show, as I am enjoying here. But it is hot out this week, and there is no better cold beverage, alcoholic beverage that is, than the Surfside iced tea and vodka, which is only 100 calories, only 3 carbs, and doesn't have any carbonation because iced tea does not have carbonation. It is the perfect summer drink. It is just the right amount of sweet. It's got a cool can, and you're going to enjoy it all summer long. So long, it'll even go into the fall. You can get it at statesidevodka.com, but you must be 21 or older to enjoy it. Without any further ado, Amos and the chef.
Larry, sweetie, the man is here.
Say the name. I say the name. I say the name.
We were right, y'all. We were right. Even when it went wrong, we were right. We was right, y'all. We were right. So say the name. Say the name. We were right, y'all. We were right. Even when it went wrong, we were right. We were right, y'all. We were right. So say the name. Say the name.
forever.
Welcome to the Rights Ricky Sanchez podcast. I'm Spike Eskin, along with a guy who is still working on the release of his signature wine, M. Levin. That is one Mike Levin.
It is between the wine thing and the team retreat thing.
Yeah.
It's all in a very backwards and different way than I thought it would. It's all coming true. It's all happening.
The wine thing isn't quite happening the way you would have written the scene, you know, in the purple shirt with the signature wine with Embiid sort of in the background hovering almost, but it's as close to Napa as we've come in that there is wine. Though didn't Ben Simmons, he didn't have a signature wine, but he did have a wine endorsement, did he not?
Sounds vaguely familiar.
Yeah.
But it's just this Harden thing and now the PJ Tucker thing and Michael Rubin just having just nonstop partying. Mm-hmm. He's too old to be partying this much.
I think so.
Take a break. But I appreciate him and we love him. And Michael Rubin feeding me that sweet tampering. I'm happy with it. Nothing against you. Just more of a recommendation that maybe like rest. Maybe don't party as much.
Just as a human, you're thinking.
As a human being. Human to human, friend to friend. But the fact that Joel is there with Harden and PJ and occasionally some other folks really proves that Joel is willing to show up for people he likes. And so all the times when he didn't show up, it's like, I don't think you wanted to.
Joel wasn't there? That's weird. He's either completely antisocial or he might not like you that much.
That might be it.
So before, we'll get to the wine in a second. Before we signed on, about an hour before we signed on to record, the Woj tweet came, and that sounded terrible. The Woj tweet was released. It is a 2-year, $68.6 million deal. The first year at 33.4, and then the second year, as predicted, is a player option, which if he takes it, seems like things didn't go too well, actually. It seems like the best case scenario, what would mean good, I think, is if he ends up opting out, unless it goes really, really badly. But some protection for him, and that's it. There was there's not much to say about the contract, right? This is what we expected. There are a few $1 million under the apron, and which allows them some. Yep.
It's a clean apron.
Mm-hmm.
No pasta sauce on that apron.
Mm-hmm.
As far as like best case scenario goes, the best case scenario is the Sixers have a very good season and advance several
and he
rounds
signs for a lot of money afterwards.
Yeah. I mean, if you want to thread the needle, if we're trying to think about it like that, you could say Sixers have a great season, but Harden is, maybe a more effective, maybe a less, what was I going to say ball dominant, but towards the end of the Heat series, he kind of wasn't even really doing much. But if he's more like deferring a lot, we've talked about like late career Jason Kidd a lot. But if he's still not the superstar, if he's still not all-star level, if he's still not even, top 25 player in the league level, but if he's like solid, fine, maybe Maxey even averages as many points as he does or whatever, something like that, where it's like, actually he couldn't get a new fat deal for $36 million or whatever, and maybe his new deal would be like in the 20 range. The Sixers do well, but he doesn't have a big statistical season, and he does pick up that option for 1 year.
You're really threading it there, bro.
It's trying to thread it.
There's a lot of thread. Yeah.
It's a lot of thread. But I think the obviously best case scenario is the Sixers. If they get to the Eastern, they just got to get to the conference finals. Holy shit. They have to get to the conference finals. I saw a tweet today that said it's not as depressing as it could be, as we know. Sixers not having made the conference finals since 2001.
That's 21 years.
I did see a tweet today saying that no active player has played the Sacramento Kings in the playoffs, which is pretty good. Pretty good statistic, and puts it in perspective. There are teams that are more depressing than the Sixers, but for as many good players as the Sixers have had, for them to have not made the conference finals since 2001 is bleak. So let's correct that this year. And then Harden can get as much money as he wants.
Hey, CJ, quick question. Pop up on the screen. How old were you the last time the Sixers made the conference finals? I can't. Jesus Christ.
Oh, 3. Sorry.
3 years old.
3, Jay.
There you go. So Harden, I want to go through this article because it is wonderful. The Chris Haynes article about James Harden, just the fucking James Harden PR release, basically. Great. I just want to go over some tweets, some tweets.
Which, by the way, why not have PR? No issue with them having PR. If he didn't have any PR, then it'd be like, you should be hiring someone to do that for you.
PR, right. So here is the quote from Harden in the Chris Haynes article. I had conversations with Daryl. It was explained how we could get better and what the market value was for certain players. I told Daryl, improve the roster, sign who we need to sign, and give me whatever is left over. This is how bad I want to win. I want to compete for a championship. That's all that matters to me at this stage. I'm willing to take less to put us in position to accomplish that. Your thoughts? Does it count as taking less if Michael Rubin is just giving it to him?
Yes.
Okay. I need clarity on that. Okay.
100%. Stock options.
Okay.
Bunch of shoes. Collectible knives.
Mm-hmm.
All of it. Whatever it
sounds
takes.
Sounds like Briggs. Sounds like they're making. It sounds like we're making up for his salary in Briggs auction lots.
Perfect. Really, antique artwork. That doesn't count against that. No artwork counts against the cap, and that's important to know. I've read the whole CBA, and it says nothing in there about how you can't give them someone like really, really nice art.
Mirrored serving tray from 1946. Right. Very
just
little
a registry.
rust.
Just a registry of old things that Harden got. That's perfectly fine. Because things are looking good. I'm optimistic. Zoe is optimistic. They have they have so many more athletic players. It's so frustrating last year. I'm just like, the first time I watched them in a real game this season, it's gonna really put it in sharp contrast. Just how slow they were around Joel and Tyrese. Just
slowest team we ever saw.
Slowest team of all time.
Yeah.
Slowest team. I will wager that aside from that period in like the 90s, early 2000s, when it was just like, even parts of the 80s, I guess, when it was just like, basketball is slow and everyone is like, Charles Oakley shape.
Mm-hmm.
I think is arguably the slowest period in NBA history happened with the Sixers right there. One of the slowest teams ever. Except for Maxey. Maxey probably just stretched it, but
I hope it wasn't one of these things where Maxey just looked fast because he was standing next to Niang.
No. It's a worthwhile concern, but no, he's very fast. He's still blew by people, but
all right.
But yeah, he's gonna look less fast because other people will be running with him. That's gonna be good. I'm excited. I'm ambitious. I'm looking forward to it. I want more than the conference finals, but it's a must. So feeling good. We're going to get there.
Next quote. I really don't listen to what people are saying. I wasn't right last season. I still almost averaged a triple-double. If anyone else had those numbers, we'd be talking about them getting the max. People were used to seeing me averaging 40, 30 points, so they viewed it as a down year. I was in Philadelphia for a couple months. I had to learn on the fly. That's just what it was. I'm in a good space physically and mentally right now, and I'm just looking forward to next season.
It sounded like he's giving all these quotes like while fishing.
Like he just like kind of looking at me and then looks over. Yeah.
Just kind of like looking out at the thing. I don't know. It just keeps going. Nobody asks him anything. He just like kind of keep wandering around. Eventually gets up to like, get a sandwich from the cooler. Keep eating and quoting. Great. I agree with everything he's saying. I agree with it. I'm being paid to agree with it. I am willfully ignoring any illegalities. I don't care about it because they don't exist. Okay. And I'm fine with it.
All right. A quote from About the Wine in 1 second. Kornblau and Kornblau is the official law firm of the Process. You hear and see a lot of advertising for personal injury law firms. They are all bullshit. Now, Like they exist, obviously, but not really. You call those phone numbers, you see the ads, you hear the ads, you call it, it's a referral firm. There's one guy with a billboard in Philadelphia, the John Murray guy or whatever. He has the same billboard in fucking Boston with him in a Red Sox uniform. That's not Kornblau. Kornblau's a real guy. We've seen him at our live events. Kornblau and Kornblau, the official law firm of the Process. Been there over 40 years. His parents started the law firm. Now it is Kornblau and his mom that run it. Some of the biggest personal injury results in southeastern PA will come to you. You don't have to come to one of his many offices if you don't want to. He will come to you. Any sort of personal injury, whether it is medical malpractice, injured at work, car accident, slip and fall, whatever it is, there is Kornblau. And most importantly, he will be there for you. It will be Kornblau. They will not refer you to someone else. You're not calling some referral factory. You're actually getting a Kornblau when you call Kornblau and Kornblau. And as you've heard many times, if you have any legal question at all, even if it's not related to personal injury, just call Kornblau first. That's your lawyer guy right there. If you think you might have a case or have any question at all, give him a call or shoot him an email. It doesn't cost you anything. 215-576-7200. Ask for Adam or email kornblau@kornblauandkornblau.com. KORNBLAU. Kornblau and Kornblau, the official law firm of the Process. Okay. Here's the quote about the wine. Jay Harden wine. Harden and his team will have a role in the wine's creative direction, design, and style. Jay Harden's label will include the likeness of Harden's iconic beard with bright colors and a floral design, including a silhouette of Harden's face. As a 10-time All-Star and third leading three-point scorer in NBA history, Harden plans to share his personal wine journey with fans on his social media accounts and introduce Jay Harden to retailers and shoppers worldwide. I wanted to create a wine that was affordable and also had some swag to it, Harden said. If you look at the design of our bottle, it stands out. It has some swag to it. It's different from all the other wine bottles that are pretty much the same. We wanted to stand out, and then we get you hooked with how great it tastes. Sounds like a great scheme. First, you love the label, then you're hooked with the taste. We have California Cabernet Sauvignon and California Red Blend. So we got something for all wine connoisseurs. The two different kinds of red. I'm really excited for this opportunity. I think consumers are really going to love this. Mike, your thoughts on Harden wine, which will become available for $16.99 on September 1st.
We got one wine for people like this one. We got one wine for people the other one. And that's all of it. That's all the people. And that's everybody.
We have every wine person covered with our two kinds of red wine.
I love this. I love it.
Really?
And let me tell you why. Because this
God
is
for
the
you.
normal shit superstars used to do. Not
Wine?
fucking NFT bullshit. Not fucking stupid, fucking crypto world, everything. Just like, hey, I have this like company, a glamour company, and I'm selling shit. The fact that it's cheap is interesting. I actually didn't know that he's trying to make it affordable. But it's just like, I got wine now, and that's a cool look, and that's a cool thing I can do because I'm an NBA player. I have my own wine label. It's like, great. That's great. Am I going to drink it? Probably not. Maybe I will. I'll drink it if they win a championship. Well, I'll drink a full bottle of James Harden, one of James Harden's reds, one of his two reds. I will drink if the Sixers, let's say, even get to the championship. I'll drink it on the pod. I will drink a full bottle of wine of that. But other than that, he good for him entering the regular universe in the regular business, doing another thing that superstars should do. This is cool. I get why he would want to do it, and he's not having to like convince people wine exists or something.
These quotes are. I hope this season goes well. These quotes. I wanted to create a wine that was affordable, that also had some swag to it. By the way, $17 is a completely normal price for a bottle of wine. I'm glad that it's not like a $40 bottle of wine or something, but there's plenty of whatever. I hope
that's
this season.
that's a cheap bottle of wine. It's not
piss,
but it's definitely a cheap bottle of wine.
Now, Maggie Gray, of CBS Sports Radio, who I work with, came to me and she was like, "Are you going to drink the wine on the pod? Do we do a taste test of the wine on the pod, or do you wait? Do they have to win a championship or something?
He needs to prove it to me first
Before you'll drink the wine on the pod."
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
He thinks consumers are really going to love this. Consumers. Yeah. Okay.
I love consuming.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess that's what you do. Consume. Whatever. So congratulations to James Harden. One, on his contract, but even more on his wine. James Harden's wine, James Harden. I did sign up on the website for alerts as to when it will become available. They say it is September 1st. I signed up. Maggie, if you're listening, I also signed you up too, just in case, so you're ready. But September 1st, we're looking forward to it. Thankfully, he didn't go with vodka, or we would have to ignore the entire thing. Or if he went with an iced tea cooler type thing, we would also have to ignore it. So I'm glad he went with wine. Yeah.
If he wants to advertise his wine on this podcast, then I will do it for sure. I would love
You'll
that.
drink it.
I would love
Yeah.
for you to have to read earnestly
James Harden wine
you
shit.
take your role as sponsor ad read personally. I think you take it responsibly.
I do a good job, right?
I would like, sure, especially when I try to do it myself and you're not there. I'm not as good and I don't like it. I'm more of a chime. I like to chime.
Yeah, you're good at chiming.
But you having to read like an earnest, positive James Harden ad, I think would be worth him spending the advertising dollars on us to do it on the pod. So we're open for it, James. Head our way.
Yeah, that would be a great email to receive. The James Harden wine wants to advertise. Hey, consumers, the rumor is consumers will love it. So good luck, James Harden, with your wine called James Harden. The thing, it's, Mike, I don't know if it's different for other teams because, you know, obviously I follow the NBA, but I don't micro follow every team. It does seem like something happens every week with the Sixers. And even if James Harden hadn't released his wine, James Harden, or signed his contract, the Joel Embiid dancing the Hora video is just another thing that happened, right? Like, do these things happen with all other teams? Like things like this, do you think? And we're just not paying attention?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's not like a trade request. This is light off-season stuff. Guy starts a company and someone caught dancing. But I think it's a delightful Joel video. I'm glad that he knows the Hora. I would love to hear him a sort of an isolated version of what he thought the words were. I thought that'd be fun to listen to. But he looked like he's having a great time, and I love him. And
do we have the video, CJ?
I wish that, you know, if I could have had Joel doing the Hora at my bar mitzvah, that would have been pretty sick.
Fuck yeah.
Would have been very cool. Would have been very
you could
popular
probably,
among my friends.
By the way, and I don't know this for sure, and I went to my cousin's a few years ago. My cousin's bar mitzvah a few years ago. The only bar mitzvah I had been to before that was one that I emceed, just the intro for the kids or whatever. But there's a lot of bar mitzvahs, they go all out. And I don't think, look, there's probably not a lot of parents that could afford the appearance fee for one Joel Embiid to show up at the bar mitzvah. But there's almost no doubt in my mind you could get B-Ball Paul or Ferk or somebody like that for a few grand to show up at the bar mitzvah and dance the Hora.
Yeah, it's just gross. I need him to come of his own volition, not because he's being paid to. It needs to be like a natural situation. It can't be like, oh, look how loaded I am as like a 13-year-old that my parents can get fucking NBA players to show up and like look confused. I don't need that. That would be bad. That's a bad look.
I got a few.
CJ popping in with a take. What do we got?
Oh,
I'm just gonna play the video, but it's gonna mute everyone. So
okay.
All right.
The video
jumping around
in the chair.
Legs look healthy.
Yeah.
Feet feeling good. Everybody doing well. Lifting the bride in the chair. Very fun. He's so much taller than everybody else. He's great. I mean, look, the fact that Joel is having a good time, the fact that there was a video of him hanging out with PJ and Harden, he's going everywhere. It seems like he just seems like he's happy. I'm invested in Joel's happiness, and I love him, and I hope that happiness translates onto the court this season for at least a conference championship, for the love of God.
The wedding was for one Michael Ratner, who's some TV guy, right? Is he? We were talking about it. I could have sworn, because he did produce some short Joel Embiid comedy thing, I could have sworn we had him on the pod a few years ago for like 5 minutes.
I think we did. I remember it enough that I think it did happen.
Yeah.
He makes mostly, his company makes like some scripted little shorts and some like non-scripted type of more wider alternative stuff.
I don't know how he knows. Do you know how he knows Embiid? I guess just
probably. Well, I mean, maybe from that from the thing that he acted in,
video.
that Embiid acted in. You know, but Embiid. Hey, look, Embiid wasn't in Hustle, so he got him to be in the fifth quarter, but Sandler couldn't get him for Hustle, so I guess there's a better relationship there. And then come to the wedding.
Real quick, I'm gonna name some well-known wedding dances, and I want you to tell me which Sixer is most likely to do this dance.
Where?
The electric at a wedding.
So in a world where all the Sixers are there,
yes,
and this guy is most likely to be like, hell yeah,
I'm doing that one. Yes.
I'm getting in. Okay.
Yeah. Electric
Presumably
slide.
all the dances that you're going to say are old dances, and everyone except everyone in the Sixers, I realized this the other day, everyone in the Sixers except for two are younger than me, which is a
welcome.
I know everybody, a lot of people are there, but that I looked at it and it's PJ Tucker and it's James Harden. That's it.
All right. Electric slide.
Matisse.
Cupid shuffle.
B-ball Paul.
YMCA.
Embiid.
Cha-cha slide.
Korkmaz.
And finally, I don't know if this was ever, I'm sure it's happened at a wedding, but I haven't said the name of the dance forever, and popped up when I was Google searching. It made me laugh. The Macarena.
Tyrese Maxey.
Okay. You did it quickly. I'm impressed by your responsiveness, I think, during that.
Yeah. I felt like I was on the hot seat.
Before we get to comparing the roster essentially to the 18-19 team, MortgageCS is a sponsor of the Ricky. As our friend Jason Lipschitz said in the chat there, he was talking about the James Harden concierge service, mortgage concierge service. He doesn't have one yet. He just has a wine called James Harden. But until then, we have MortgageCS, concierge service. You Google how to get a mortgage, there's a lot of results, and you can't really trust any of them. They're all bullshit. They're all like, the mortgage brokers who are in there have deals with the banks, so they don't really have your best interests at heart. The banks themselves, of course, don't really have your best interests at heart, and that's why you need MortgageCS. They are focused on you. They are small. They are responsive. They are great. Right? Like, so what a mortgage broker does is they're not lending you the money. They are going to all the banks, finding the best rates, which is, by the way, you see the rate pop up, 5.25%. The rate that you see is not always the rate. And that's why you need somebody like MortgageCS. The fact that they're small and nimble means that they can care about you. You know, like I've had 2 mortgages so far, and they can be pretty busy, right? Like, they're dealing with lots and lots of people, but MortgageCS is focused on you. You can call or text their CEO, Ben, at any time. Do it right now. 267-391-7425. That is important because you might need an answer quickly at night, on the weekends. They're always available for you. MortgageCS. Go to mortgagecs.com/Ricky. mortgagecs.com/Ricky. See the beautiful site that they have set up for us. Every Rights to Ricky Sanchez listener I've heard from that has gone to MortgageCS essentially said that they lived up to everything that you said. And what MortgageCS, what Alec and Ben told me at MortgageCS, they were like, look, we want your listeners to come. We want them to get a mortgage through us. But really, the thing that we care about most at the end of the day is they really understand the process from beginning to end. They're more well-educated, and they feel confident when they're getting a mortgage, even if it's not through us. They're good people, man. MortgageCS.com/Ricky or call or text their CEO, Ben, 267-391-7425, any time of the day or night, including weekends, for VIP treatment. And make sure you tell them you're a Rights Ricky Sanchez listener, because they'll give you a nice little friendly pat on the butt if you want one, if it's okay with you. I don't even know. Maybe they shouldn't do that. They do have this free coffee they give you, though, if you get a mortgage.
I think probably the coffee over the pat on the butt.
This advertisement is not a commitment to lend or extend credit. Sometimes when you're doing these, off the top of your head, you don't always. MortgageCS is an equal housing opportunity mortgage broker. All loans are subject to credit approval. Certain restrictions apply. Company NMLS 1464766. Visit mortgagecs.com/Ricky for more information. I don't know if Zach Lowe actually said this. I just saw a tweet that said that he said it, but I thought it was an interesting conversation because Zach has been really positive about the offseason the Sixers had, and I would say guardedly positive about their season. He said that this is the best team that Embiid has had. And really the only competition is the 18-19 team. My question to you, Mike, is this team better than that team? Without seeing them play, with what you know, is this team better than that team?
Well, it's interesting. The Sixers have, since Embiid has gotten really good, let's say after his first season, his first protracted season, they have had different identities around him. It was like just shooters with like JJ Dario Covington, and then it was like just big beefy guys in with Horford and Jimmy and Tobias and Ben. And then it was like, okay, none of that. Now just guys that can shoot and dribble a little bit in Maxey and Harden and not many other people last year, but that was the idea.
Right.
You could say Seth, whatever, as far as shooting goes. And now they've sort of found, I think, finally found the middle ground between those things. You look at this roster, and if healthy, if Harden is a little closer to the regular season version of him or the guy he was 2 years ago, whatever, then I think this should be the best team that Joel has had. Partially because in the 18-19 season, Joel is a way better player than he was then. That's, I think, the main difference. But the other difference is more options of guys that can handle the ball a little bit, and I think more importantly, more depth. Like, you look at the starting lineup, Tobias and Tobias cancel each other out, although I would argue that Tobias is a better player now. Fine. So then it's Maxey, Harden, Tucker versus, would this be Jimmy,
Redick,
JJ, and Ben?
Correct.
So it's just an interesting. I think you could argue for either side, depending on how good you think Harden's going to be this year, and if Maxey takes another step, et cetera, et cetera. That team is certainly the better defensive team because of Ben and Jimmy versus just PJ as far as a positive defender here. But there seems to be more versatility here, and I think depth is really the issue, because that team, it was like, as much as I love them, James Ennis, Mike Scott were the guys coming off the bench there, and that was the Greg Monroe season. So there was not much happening there. And now this team, Melton is a guy that could start on a lot of teams. Shake, hopefully you're hoping that he bounces back with a more consistent season. Dan Howe, solid two-way guy. You'll see what Matisse gives you, or either on the court or in a trade. B-Ball, Paul, and Bassie are better centers than anybody on that roster. You go down, you can get something out of Niang, Korkmaz, Isaiah Joe. I just think it's a deeper team than it was then. But I think the most important thing is that Joel is a better player. So I would say, but I guess the question is the team around Joel.
Around Joel, yeah. Look, it really just comes down to Harden.
I think a lot of it comes down to Harden. I think they do have the edge on depth as far as like playable depth this year than they did that year. And I hope he's right. I would like it. I would like this to be the the best team around him for sure. I would also say that team came together so quickly. Tobias midseason, Jimmy midseason,
for sure,
making a playoff run, and then it all falling apart very quickly with the Jimmy trade. So I think I wouldn't rule out that team, similar to last season, the weaknesses were obvious and Daryl like pretty clearly addressed them this offseason. I think a similar thing, if that team had stayed together, those 5 guys, say, you could have then addressed their weaknesses on depth if they had like two-way depth, if they hadn't blew it up with the Jimmy trade.
It's wild to think that the Simmons Hawks thing, that Sixers were the number 1 seed. Like they were the 1 seed. It's pretty fucking crazy. I actually think it's pretty easy. It's actually, I think, unless Harden were to come in and just be cooked, more cooked than he looked last year, I think it's a pretty easy thing actually to say that this is the best team. I think actually it's just not saying much actually, and it speaks to what Embiid was able to bring out of previous teams too. So
yeah, I mean the argument against that is that Jimmy is, of those 2 teams, Jimmy is the best two-way player.
Right.
So he would that he is like the best teammate there, and I think Ben is still, it's a weird guy to compare him to, but as far as like top tier talent, Ben went at his peak a better player than PJ Tucker, especially at that time. But it's just a different, obviously fit wise, it's different, and you can't like line those guys up and say compare them. But you could say that team had more high end talent, but I think this team fits better together. They're more versatile because of their depth and because of multiple guys that can handle the ball a little bit. But it's not, I wouldn't say it's crazy to say that team was just like better because Jimmy was that good.
It's the off season, and we haven't done relationship advice in a while. And I actually didn't read this one all the way, but I skimmed it, and it looked like it was very heartfelt. So, relationship
I keep my
advice.
heart under my pillow with my teeth and other lies. I've been waiting on your halo just to shine the light.
The relationship advice music comes from the Ricky's own Eliza Hardy-Jones. This comes from Anonymous. Dear Spike, Mike, and CJ, this past spring, my girlfriend of 6 years and I decided to buy a house together. We've had a happy and stable relationship, and we were excited to take this big step forward in our commitment. For financial reasons, I just graduated from medical school and will be making money, but my current debt makes a traditional mortgage difficult. We decided we'd pay for all the closing costs and down payments, and then we'd split the monthly mortgage. I'm sorry, she paid for the closing costs and down payments. I need to emphasize here that this was a shared, agreed-upon decision that she was completely comfortable doing this. 2 days before closing, she told me out of nowhere she did not want me to move in with her. She wanted to, quote, feel independent and, quote, experience life on her own for some time so that she could know for sure that I am the one she wants to settle down with. She was also concerned that our relationship wasn't, quote, growing the way that it should. She was also suddenly began throwing it in my face that it was her house and not mine, calling me her tenant. And she posted about the house on social media without me being mentioned or shown. Since it was so last minute, I did move in and try to give her some more space and time for us to work it out. But after a couple weeks, she still felt this way. And after a lot of shared tears and lamentation, I moved out. We agreed to not talk about things for 2 to 4 weeks and reassess after that. This was a week ago. She asked me to come over after a week, despite our agreed upon moratorium, to talk about how she felt. She told me she misses me, wants me back, but if I'm not going to come back, she feels she can't live in the new house alone and will either sell it or rent it out. Either way, moving to a new, distant city. Here's where I need help. I do love her. And prior to all this, I believed we would have a long, happy life together. Now, though, I feel she has violated the commitment we have to each other, and she may only want me back because she's lonely, not because she wants me specifically. I'm worried that if I do go back, this could happen again. Jesus Christ, man. This happened again? And I don't want to be fooled twice. That said, if I pontificate too long, she may decide to move away, and this will be the end of it, which would make me sad. So I ask you guys, should I get back with her or say, ciao, Bella?
Oh boy.
Be careful before you buy a fucking house with somebody.
That thing is over. That is tough, man. I think I would call it. I think the being married is, you get a divorce, whatever, it's fine. But like buying a house is that's tougher. That is a tougher thing. So
it is.
If there is concern,
she posted the house without him.
That may not, and you're not that. I would say, I would thank her for not doing this afterwards, and say, go with God. It is a tough one. That is a tough one. Sorry that happened. She seems like she's going through something. I wish her well.
Oh my God.
That is a tough one, and I would, by the skin of your teeth, thank her and head on out of there.
Yeah, you gotta toast a glass of James Harden wine and to the relationship you had, and just move on. Look, life is hard and relationships are hard, and nobody ever wants to say no, and you want to buy a house and everybody wants to be happy. And at least to Mike's point, she did it when she did it, as inopportune as that sounded. And, it's her house now. Like, you don't even have to fucking worry about it. It doesn't seem like she paid for everything. You're not on the mortgage. So
calling you tenant as a joke, funny, get it, working with it. We can roll with that. Fun. But if it's not a joke, tell your landlord that you would no longer like to date them. No, thank you, ma'am.
Oh my God, that is a good comment from Alter Ego 877 in YouTube. Contact a lawyer and get advice before you let her know you're leaving too. Not a bad idea to call Kornblau.
If it's only her name on all the documents, then I don't know. That seems scary. No thanks.
Are you sure you exist? Is this one of those things where he doesn't even exist? Like Fight Club?
I don't think it's a Fight Club situation.
Like she's sending us this email?
If it was her, yeah, maybe if it's her.
As him?
Interesting.
Yeah.
That'd be interesting if we had who was a Fight Club situation.
I'm sorry, Anonymous. I'm sorry this happened. I'm sorry I'm laughing. I'm only laughing because there's no two ways about this. You have to move on. You have to move on. She posted pictures of the house without you there and said it was her new house after you bought a house with her. Oh my God. Holy fuck.
Tough one.
I want to call my wife and tell her I love her and say, like, anything that she does wrong doesn't compare to this. Her tenant.
Rough.
We mentioned earlier, Doc Rivers is bringing training camp to South Carolina.
Here we go.
Mark Spears tweets, Coach Doc Rivers told me yesterday the Sixers are heading to Charleston, South Carolina for training camp to help prepare for next season without distraction and to learn the local history. As coach of the Celtics, Rivers had training camp in Rome in 2007 and Newport, Rhode Island in 2008. I did Google how many good golf courses there are in Charleston, Carolina. Depending on the website you go to, there are 10 or 17. I'm sure that doesn't have anything to do with it, though. It'd be nice for them to get away, I guess. You go spend $1 billion that New Jersey basically pays for by giving you tax subsidies, and you don't have training camp there, but that's fine. Go other places. It's not my money. It's Josh Harris's money. It's fine with me,
Yeah, I mean, I think like it became the Sixers have folded in so many different ways over the last few years.
Yes.
And part of that is because they weren't talented enough, didn't have enough depth, didn't stay healthy enough, et cetera, et cetera. But I think part of it also could be built to like they aren't in like a trench mentality with each other. Like when, the lame expressions of like when the going got tough or whatever, blah, blah, blah. But like the Celtics were a team this year that had like been through it for years. And even if they weren't like perfectly like friends with each other a lot of the time, and there's like, Marcus Smart called out Jalen and Jason earlier in the season, it seemed like they at least had enough like shared history to be able to like lean on each other and trust each other when it got bad and when it got hard, maybe more specifically, and it helped them along on like a really impressive end of season run. And I think there's something to be said for the Sixers just not having that. Like, things went bad. You know, obviously there's been weirdness with Ben, you know, for that year plus. Mm-hmm. It would be nice, you know, you're seeing a little bit of that with the teammates hanging out together. It would be nice if they have like some continuity together and like trust built into each other. I don't think they're gonna be doing trust falls in the woods or whatever, but just like hanging out and going through it and having whatever their version of the Napa wine tour / you know, remember the Titans training camp style
Doc
montage.
Rivers
like, you want that.
Pictures on Instagram without any of the players.
And if Doc's not there, if Doc is just golfing the whole time and they're hanging out without him, even better. Even better.
For sure.
Sam Cassell runs everything. Go for it. That sounds good. So I love it. I've wanted this for many years. This is exciting. It's exciting that they're doing it, and I hope it works out. And I hope we look back and say it was the South Carolina trip. It was the Charleston trip. They learned stuff. They went to the museum. They met some weirdly rich racist people that are on Southern Charm, which is a great show. A totally demented show, but it's great. Okay. It's on Bravo. It's nonsense. But I hope we look back on it and say this is what they needed all along, therefore proving me right in a way that I would like.
She called him her tenant.
I have to think that was a joke. I have to think it was a joke. And maybe it was one of those like joking things that she was like concerned about. But I have to think that was partly like, oh yeah, okay, goofy. I'll be silly about it. But she was like one of those like, I'm making jokes about it because I actually believe it kind of thing, and I'm concerned about it. So it seemed like she was last minute pulling the plug because there were some second thoughts, and you just can't be getting into that many contractual gray areas that close to it. So I would take your leave.
I just can't imagine how he felt. Holy fuck, man. Feels so fucked up. Anyway, we have a great mailbag coming up. Before that, Big Barker therapeutic dog beds. People have asked, Rebel's doing good. He did have surgery to remove fatty tumors that we found out are non-cancerous. He is good. He's totally fine. He is taking normal walks again. But while he was laid up, he was laying in his Big Barker. That's what he sleeps. He's Big Barker. BigBarker.com/Ricky. BigBarker.com/Ricky. There are a lot of fake dog beds on the market that are not designed with your dog's health in mind. You can get them. You can buy them on Instagram. You can get them at the pet store for $39.99. It's a piece of shit, man. I'm telling you, it's not a real bed. You can see the difference. You can feel the difference with a Big Barker. When Eric started Big Barker, he wanted a dog for his bed, for a bed for his dog, Hank. Dog Hank was, may he rest in peace, Hank was a big dog. And he noticed there weren't any on the market that really supported that dog. So they went and they designed this bed that truly supports your dog's joints. And now it isn't just for big dogs, it's for all dogs, from small dogs to huge dogs. Rebel's about 40 pounds, sleeps on a large Big Barker. Could probably get away with a medium, but sleeps on a large Big Barker. And it has, since then, they've done studies. Penn Vet showed that this actually does promote a higher quality of life for your dog. A reduction in joint stiffness, a reduction in pain severity. Rebel loves his Big Barker. Your job as dog owners to make the dog's life as happy and healthy as possible. That's it. That's all you have to do. That dog gives you unconditional love. You got to give him happiness and healthiness and health. BigBarker.com/Ricky. You get the Big Barker dog bed, the Process Pup patches. You send us a picture, put them up in the Process Pup gallery. It's great. And it's truly the best. You might be like, this is a little more pricey than regular dog bed. It is, but it's better. It also will last. 10-year warranty, or the foam doesn't flatten, or they replace it for free. A 1-year at-home trial. Try it for a full year. If you don't like it, give you a full refund. They'll even pay for the shipping. By the way, it looks nice. It comes in all different colors, from like a dark maroon to like a khaki to a gray. Headrest, no headrest. It's amazing. Handmade in the USA. Big Barker dog beds.
Woof woof.
Mike,
Big news. Wait. Big news.
Oh,
Philip Petrusev
oh, Jesus Christ.
signs a contract overseas to stay
Shocker.
in Serbia. He was not good. He wasn't good. He wasn't good at all. I need him to only look. I don't think he's an NBA player, but if he's going to be, it's going to be because he becomes
Not here.
Petrusev, Mike Muscala. Just like become a guy that shoots 45% from three. Do nothing else. Pick and pop, pick and pop, pick and pop. That's what it's got to be. So if he's going to work on anything for the year and the Sixers are asking him to do stuff, so maybe we'll revisit it next year, that's what it should be. But if not, maybe he's just a trade his rights type of guy in the future. God, the Pasechnik's pick was awful. The Petrusev late second round, they got Bassey 2 picks later. Fine, whatever. That's fine. You take a swing on guys, the rights. I'm happy for a stash. But the Pasechniks, they traded up to take him over Derek White and Josh Hart and several other players that I'm forgetting, and that fucking sucked so bad. He's awful. He's awful. That is the worst.
Where is he?
That
right
is the
now?
worst. That is the worst trade.
Where's Pasechnik right now?
Nowhere.
Oh,
He's in the metaverse. Nowhere. Not a single place. That's the worst trade of the modern Sixers era. Process onward. That's the worst trade. You can say Trevor Booker. You could say Tobias. You can say Jimmy Butler for Josh Richardson. There's a lot of things you could do. The Pasechniks trade. You could say Fultz, although I mean there's logic to all. There's logic to everything. There's logic to it. The Mikal Bridges. There's logic that you can defend in a lot of these trades, except for that one. There's nothing there. The worst trade of the process era is trading up to take Anzej's pretzel dick.
I don't think this is even a discussion point. I would just like to read it. A tweet from Jason Dumas. I was going to say our own Jason Dumas, but he's not ours. Source: Markieff Morris's preference is to play for the Philadelphia 76ers. Markieff grew up in North Philadelphia and won a Philly Public League and two PA state titles at Prep Charter. The Sixers are still weighing their options, but have given this a thought. Boy, if that isn't the most pathetic fucking tweet I ever saw in my whole life.
There's stuff like that all the time.
Like this one? His preference is to play for this one specific team that could sign him very easily if they wanted to.
Right now they have 16 guys on the roster.
Sure, but they have.
So this would require a 2-for-1, 3-for-1 type of trade. Which
they
might
don't
happen
even
if
need to
there's a
trade.
Consolidation trade.
They just cut 2 people. They could. Bassey's contract is not guaranteed. Traveling Queen's contract is not guaranteed. And B-Ball Paul's
great song, by the way. I
did
listen to that. I listened to that song. I probably heard it in the past, but not. I
Caribbean Queen. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean they could, but they clearly have these guys, most of them, because they like them and want them to be good. So if I don't think it's like we have to rush to sign Markieff Morris, who is, basically banging on the door of the practice facility.
Yeah.
So if I would be totally fine if they signed him after making a Matisse and Korkmaz or Isaiah Joe or Bassey or whatever type trade.
The hard to stomach YouTube comment of the week from Marlowe: we need Mike's Windhorse impersonation as a regular segment. Mike?
Where applicable and appropriate.
Okay. For sure. The mailbag and the voicemail. The mailbag writes to Ricky Sanchez at gmail.com. The voicemail, 833-LickFace. 833-LickFace, there was a voicemail. This email comes from John. I think this is a really good question. I even feel like we could have led with this. With the availability of players like Donovan Mitchell and Kevin Durant this offseason, do you think that Morey regrets trading for Harden? I.e., we could have had the assets to trade those for Durant or Mitchell instead of shooting our shot with a potential washed-up Harden. If you don't think he regrets it, should Morey have regretted it? I think Sixers fans would like to upgrade the whatever. Forget about that. What do you think with Durant and Mitchell available?
The Harden trade obviously impacted how the Durant fallout went. So it's a little tough to extricate those things from each other. But in a world where Harden went to, say, anywhere else, the Clippers, who cares? And the Sixers had all their assets still, and not Ben Simmons. I it's hard to do it like exactly what it is, but
whatever. Yeah, make pretend it's hustle and something. Kenny Smith doesn't exist.
All right, let me put myself in that mindset. No, Kenny Smith. Okay. I could see it being a possibility that he regrets it. Yeah, I could see it being like I think when you make these kinds of trades, that like someone else is going to be available 6 months later, because that's just the way the league kind of goes. And because of Ben not playing, it kind of forced his hand to go with like, well, who's available now?
Yep.
And Beal and Dame didn't really reveal themselves to want to be moved, and still haven't. And so it was basically between Harden and Tyrese Halliburton. And I would have, at the time I always think I was leaning Harden, but, and maybe that changes now that Harden took less money and we got these other guys. Maybe, who knows? But I love Halliburton. I think he's an awesome player, always have. So maybe that's different. But I don't think Morey goes back and goes like, I wish I hadn't done this so that we could lift all the assets that we had sent for Harden and moving him for Donovan Mitchell or something. I don't think so. Because I think he's aware that those kinds of things happen.
So you just sort of, this is the situation that they're in.
Exactly.
8-3, and by the way, if Kevin Durant doesn't want to come to Philadelphia, he's not coming to Philadelphia. So, it's sort of like, is what he doesn't, everybody's like, well, he's got 4 years on his contract. If that mattered, he'd be playing in Brooklyn. It doesn't matter. He's only going to go where he's going to go. Voicemail 833.
I think he will play in Brooklyn if they don't trade him.
If they make a concerted effort to trade him, but I think they're going to trade him. If that's what he wants, I think that they're going to trade him. I think it was Dave McManaman posited that there are people that are thinking that Durant made the trade request so they would trade Kyrie Irving, and he doesn't really want to get traded.
I don't know. I think a lot of people are surmising what Durant wants, and he hasn't publicly spoken about it. Maybe he won't. He's an odd guy. But I don't know. I don't think, like, Brooklyn's in such a bad place, and it was so weird that they would trade a first round pick for Royce O'Neal. Like, look, Windhorst, on the Jazz side of things, it was very clear why the Jazz did it. It was very clear, Brian.
Why would they do that?
It was very clear why they did that.
Why would they do that?
It's actually extremely clear why they would do that. But Brooklyn, it wasn't. It's like, why in the midst of like weird like trade requests and Kyrie drama and all that stuff would you send a first round pick for a guy that's like fine role player, but that didn't make any sense. So, but I think at this point things are so bad there that they can just be like, we have not gotten the right trade for Durant. We will just sit fucking tight and wait for that to come along. And if you don't want to play, we'd rather you play because we think we're still a good team. But if you don't want to play, then like sit the hell out. We have no chance of competing in either direction, no matter what happens. So, and all our picks are gone because we traded them to acquire James Harden. So it's kind of just like, well, in a game of chicken, Brooklyn has less to lose at this point, which is normally not the case. But right now they have less to lose than Durant. Durant has like the last couple years of his prime to lose if he decides not to play. Brooklyn is like, we are already fucked. We're already dead.
Right.
You can't do anything to us. We're zombies. So if they want to hold out for the best possible deal, then I think they could and probably should.
Voicemail. This comes from 833 Lickface.
Hey, Spike. Hey, Mike. I just wanted to talk a little bit about the Harden contract. Very, very, very strange, right? But I think the clues are all out there. So if you look at the most recent movie on Netflix, who did that feature? An NBA player. A couple NBA players. What other movie featured an NBA player? Uncut Gems. Okay? Now, who was the player on Uncut Gems? Kevin Garnett. Now, do you make the lines? If you draw the lines together, Kevin Garnett is coached by Doc Rivers. Okay? Now, Doc Rivers, his point guard, was Rajon Rondo. And Rajon Rondo helped mentor, in quotes, Tyrese Maxey. Now, you might be asking, who's the other guard on the Sixers next to Tyrese Maxey? Well, it's James Harden. So, James Harden, being tied back to Netflix, who starred in both of those movies? Uncut Gems and Hustle. Adam Sandler. It's very strange. Very strange. You might be asking yourself. Very strange. I think Harden will take less money from the Sixers, and Netflix will pay the balance. Very strange. Very strange, but something to look out for. Something weird's going on at Netflix. Something weird's going on in Philly. We'll see. Trust the process. Go Sixers.
I normally want the voicemails to be 30 seconds or less, but I felt like he did a really good job.
Took his time.
Yeah, he took his time.
It out. Something
Why
weird's
is that?
going on at Netflix.
This comes from Will to writes to RickySanchez@gmail.com. This is for Spike, Mike, and CJ. You get a year pass on one single vice. Which vice do you choose and why? The add benefit of this year pass is there will be no health ramifications, no legal consequences, or no personal or professional damages. I know what mine is.
What's yours?
I would eat, if I could, with no health ramifications, I would eat as shitty as I could. And like everything else, I feel like I have under control. Every other vice, I don't think about it ever. I don't think about drinking during the day. I don't care, fucking caffeine, gambling, whatever. It doesn't affect me. All I do is think about, I want to eat more stuff. So if I could have that for a year, that's what I would like.
Yeah. Not a huge vice guy. Do it pretty moderation.
Mm-hmm.
And I like saving it as a moderation because I like it as a little treat. I like feeling like it's a treat, not like an everyday thing. I get to be like, ooh, a treat for me. I earned it. But yeah, I guess I would do food also, because there are some things like that I can't eat because it hurts my little tummy.
CJ, you got a thought?
Vice guy?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't have a ton of vices, but I'm reading health ramifications and thinking cigars. I smoked a cigar once in college, and it gave me a headache, and I didn't like it. So I'm thinking about a year of no health ramifications with this. I would just become a nice
cigar guy.
Cigar guy, the expensive ones. They keep them in the boxes and stuff. That'd be cool.
Wow.
I
like it.
Check out CJ's cigar line, CJ, titled CJ. Yeah,
that'd be good.
Yeah.
I spur of the moment watched the 1995 film Crimson Tide last night.
I've never seen it. I know it, but I've never seen it.
I'd never seen it before, and it kicks ass. I started watching it way too late. Alyssa had fallen asleep. I started watching it way too late to start a movie on a school night. And I finished it at like 1:30 in the morning. Stayed up the whole time. And it's awesome. And anyway, Gene Hackman, who is awesome in it, smokes a cigar. And Denzel is in it and kicks ass also. It's really good. I recommend the 1995 film Crimson Tide on Peacock.
And
which also employs me.
We end on a voicemail to 833 Lickface.
Hey, Spike and Mike, it's Cam from Syracuse here. I love the new Trampoline Queen drop that Spike keeps using, and I've been wondering, what other players could you turn into songs? I think Joel, you could do Joel to the tune of Jolene, something like Joel Embiid. Let me know what you think and what songs you would pick for other players. Thanks, guys.
That sounds like an AU project, honestly. It sounds like an AU off-season article. Which songs? Yeah.
AU would be so happy to have that for the off-season.
Yeah. And then I will send a note to not Amos, not gonna fucking do that, but Mootlu will. So I'll send a note to Moot. Moot will do it.
Every single caller sounds exactly the same. I'm convinced it's one guy, slightly changing his voice.
We got this one too.
A reveling queen.
We got a few of those.
Stuck in people's heads.
Yeah.
I
I
hope
couldn't
you picked
believe. But when you listen to Caribbean Queen, you did not have I remember this song now. When you listen to it.
No, I mean like vaguely, but not.
Okay.
Not like an obviously situation.
Well, if you're going to recommend 1995's Crimson Tide, there's an album I've been. I know I have a whole podcast that does this, but we recorded a listener suggested this album, came out this year from Ethel Cain, and the name is Preacher's Daughter, and this is the fucking album of the year. That's all I'm going to say. It is like it is like a spooky Taylor Swift meets fucking Sarah McLachlan album. Every song is 6 and 7 minutes long. It's a concept album. It is fucking super weird, and I recommend it. Ethel Cain's Preacher's Daughter. And also the 1989 film One Crazy Summer. There you go. I think that was 89. It's probably 87.
Well, we're here. We are entering the depths of the off season.
Oh, Mountjoy. Mountjoy's coming on next week. Or Matt from Mountjoy. So Mountjoy has a new album out right now, and they're playing the Man Skyline stage September 10th. And we're going to have Matt from Mountjoy on. We had him on during the throes of the pandemic. He did do a cover of Tony T's You Don't Fuck With Me, I Don't Fuck With You. But if you remember, the last time we heard from Mountjoy, they put CJ on the list for a concert, and CJ got there and he wasn't on the list. And I'm just thinking, how do they make it up to CJ?
Justice will be done.
Yeah.
We'll be meting out justice on the next, is it next week?
Yeah, next Wednesday. So if anyone has any ideas of how they make it up to CJ, we simply, whether he is in the band from now on,
we'll negotiate. We'll do a negotiation live on air.
Yeah. All right. Anything? Yeah, this is the team now for a while, right? I mean, they signed the contract. I suppose they could do a trade still. They could still do a Tobias trade, I guess, and they still have $3.5 million under the apron. So I suppose
there's going to be a trade like August 12th.
You think so?
Like in the middle of everyone's on vacation and ready to not think about it. Like a last minute type of thing. I was trying to think of a way to get Dario back, but they don't quite have enough juice to make it happen.
What's he making, like 12 or something?
9.
Okay.
So it would require like Matisse and Korkmaz and like Bassi or Isaiah Joe, which is just like, I mean, if we get like a pick or two in it, but I don't know that would be a worthwhile trade for either team. Just to have another stretch 5 option would be nice. Anyway, off season.
All right. Here we are.
We
will talk to you this weekend. Are you down with TTP?
Yeah. You? No? Lake face.